Right, so rankings rants for this week. We had an abundance of inquiries or questions after I put it out on the social media about the effects of alcohol on training. I think that may have been largely down to the fact that we had a social on the weekend. For Alan, who's still not recovered, because as you can see, he's not with me today again. And some people were maybe suffering a little bit still on Monday morning and weren't able to train like they would normally. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to speak to people about this in terms of the effects it does have on your training. I would never for 1 minute be and say, you can't go out and enjoy social events, but I just wanted to go through some things which I've kind of found to give people a bit of insight into the effects it can have. So as you can imagine, there's not a ton of studies that have been done on this, because I think for fairly obvious reasons, people know that the effects of it are not necessarily going to be positive. So, funnily enough, I did look into some research on this way back when I was in university. Reasons for that being, give you a bit of a backstory. I used to play rugby on a Wednesday. We also used to play rugby on a Saturday. So we actually wondered how long it would take us to recover, because we used to go on a Wednesday night from that in order to play again on the Saturday, and whether it would have an effect on our performance. I remember one of our strength and conditioning coaches used to say to us, look guys, I'm not going to stop you going out. I know you're going to go out, but at least if you can, try and have a drink of water in between each alcoholic drink you have. Therefore, you're going to recover faster by staying more hydrated, something I'm going to go into in a second. So the effects of alcohol, as we know, can stay in the system for usually about 12 to 14 hours after your consumption of your last drink. Although there are some studies which have shown for it to stay in your system and affect you in some sort of way for up to 80 hours post last consumption. So that was quite interesting, I thought. I've done a bit of research, and there has been some studies shown from the NSCA, which is National Strength and Conditioning Association, about the effects. And most of the effects of alcohol are actually on other things in and around your lifestyle, as you can imagine. Now, some of these are pretty obvious, but I think the main ones to point out are that alcohol is going to have an effect and a disturbance on your sleeping pattern. So it's going to obviously disrupt that from the point of view that your sleep's going to be all over the place, mainly because of the time of the day that you're going to be drinking or staying awake until, and the impact that's going to have on the days thereafter. So the big one being obviously disturbances to sleep, which we know lack of sleep is going to have an impact on your performance in training anyway. So I think that's quite an obvious one, but just worth noting. The other one which it has a big disturbance on is your irregular food consumption. So that's either going to be one of two things. It's going to be not eating anything really, or very little, which is going to have a massive effect on people's training in the days thereafter, or people are going to overconsume following a heavy drinking session and feel really slow and sluggish when they do try and train again. So you're either going to have one or the other generally. I think people have probably experienced both. But the big one is the effects alcohol has on people's hydration levels, and how it can severely dehydrate you. Just because of the nature of you drinking alcohol, you're going to probably drink very little water for an extended period of time and send yourself into almost just massive levels of dehydration. So that, as we know, has a massive effect on people's ability to perform exercise. And obviously this is going to differ from person to person, what people have been drinking, the type of training they're going to be doing. With all things being equal, those things are going to have a massive impact for probably a number of days after you've consumed alcohol. So hopefully that's covered a few things, but I thought I'd mention it and go into a bit of detail into people wondering why their training is impacted for so long after. I think a big one to also touch on is if you don't drink very frequently and then you have a weekend of drinking, then that impact is probably going to be enhanced even more in terms of the negative effects on it, hasn't it? So not for any reason not saying people can't do these things, but it's just being aware of the impacts it's going to have in the days and the week then you have thereafter in terms of training and the effects it's going to have. So take from that what you want, but I thought it was quite an interesting one to just dive into a little bit.